It's not exactly what it was last Friday night, but it's still a Friday night of college football right here at the Voice of College Football. Appreciate you stopping by. I guarantee this may not be the best show that you've ever seen. It may not be the best show that you've ever seen on this network or on the main channel. I can just about guarantee that we will deliver a better show than what was delivered by college football on a Friday night, even though Louisville and James Madison are playing a close game in the fourth quarter. So we will keep our tabs on that. I am not pleased with college football, not happy, not satisfied with the scheduling. Terrible. And that's why we need a commissioner. That's why we need a scheduling committee. That's why it all has to be brought under the same leadership, because we wouldn't suffer Friday nights like this. We would have the conferences and the teams and everyone working together to build a comprehensive, cohesive schedule that works all the time and provides excellent matchups every window on Saturday and on Thursday night and on Friday night. So we will look ahead to the games on Saturday. We'll check out the scores from tonight and let you know what it all means. Of course, there's Edward, college football account. My college football account. Mark, my college football account. I'll take it. That sounds good. That sounds like a positive in my direction, Edward. Thank you for that. Oh, don't you point at me, Rogers. I point at everyone, Edward. That's just the way it is. You've never seen me point at anyone except for just 3 seconds ago on here. But the guy that took that picture way back when, that guy was pointing, wasn't he? He was also clean shaven. Karen, how you doing here tonight? And speaking of Karen, I hope I'm approved to do this. I believe I can take the liberty of doing this. I think I can, because when you put it on social media for the entire world to see, then, you know, Karen has become a bit of a spokesperson / model for us here at the Voice of College Football. Check this out. And yes, there we have it. So, Karen, thank you so much for the lovely picture, and thank you for purchasing here at the Voice of College Football. Karen supporting us, modeling our latest edition Colorado Voice of College Football cap. I think she's got a couple of these hats. Looks much better on you than it would on me, for sure. I've never looked good in hats, and you will not see me with a hat on here. You may see me walking around the neighborhood with a hat on, but if it's a little sunny, but not on the show. But Karen, you look great. That's an excellent picture. So that reminds everyone to pick up your Voice of College Football gear, vocfb.com. I've left the link in the chat, and you've got your selection of teams. No New Mexico at this point, no UTEP, no Georgia Southern, no Charlotte. We are missing a few, but we've got most of the big brands covered. So again, vocfb.com, get your merch. Everyone's been pleased and satisfied with it. We have yet to have a disappointed customer, so we want to add you to the list. So represent the Voice of College Football and your team at the same time, unless you just want to rep the Voice of College Football, and you can purchase that as well. Oh, it's not a bad selfie. It's a good selfie. It's a good selfie. But thanks for being a good sport, Karen, and thank you so much for promoting us on your Facebook page. I was happy to see that, and that was nice to see. You will see me with some VOCFB gear here very soon. Actually, I will put that on my to-do list right after the show. Gear. Bam. All right. We got Jackson in the conversation tonight as well. The Amazon links in the description section of this video and all the videos, and they'll probably put this on my gravestone. The Amazon link, when you shop on Amazon, please use the link that we provide. It would make such an incredible difference. You have no idea. If just the people that like what we do here at the Voice of College Football. I believe I'm talking to all of you who would have better things to do on a Friday night. If you would shop on Amazon using the link that we provide, it's down in the description section. Again, it does not affect you at all. Same shopping experience, doesn't cost you a penny. Amazon keeps all your information just as it does now. It does not affect your account in any way. All your orders are still tracked. Everything. It's a smart outfit there at Amazon. And some of these people have worked out, connection of links and all of that on the internet. This is all pretty automated now. I was able to point my camera at the TV at a QR code tonight and boom, did what I needed it to do. It's like magic now. So the Amazon link works just like your link. However, it provides us with a contribution. So you can feel good about contributing to the Voice of College Football financially without spending a penny. Can Kansas win the Big 12? We will discuss. Are there games on? Big games tomorrow. There are games being played as we speak, and we are going to run them down. Tukey G is here as well. Andrew, good to see you. All right, here we go. Let's run them down. And, of course, give me a call. Louisville, just about a 2-touchdown favorite at home against James Madison. Trailed in this game 7-3, close to halftime. Kicked a field goal right before halftime. Have taken the lead here in the second half with a couple touchdowns. So got a touchdown and a 2-point conversion out of Louisville in the second half, but struggling with the James Madison team. 20-14 at home with just about 6.5 minutes left, and Louisville looks like they have to punt the football back to James Madison. So this one far from over at Louisville. Cardinals leading 20-14. We've got Northwestern all over Western Illinois, 34-0. About 10 minutes left in the ball game. Northwestern, of course, went down to Tulane and was treated not kindly, losing in that one 23-3 last weekend. And there we see James Madison gets the punt from Louisville. They take over the football 69 yards away from taking the lead. 6.5 minutes left. Maybe the last time James Madison gets their hands on the football. In the Big Ten, 8 minutes left. It's still a ball game at College Park with the Terps leading Northern Illinois 20-9. Go look at Northern Illinois' efforts against the Big Ten. They are respectable. Yes, they lose just about every time. But if you go down through the years, Northern Illinois rarely blown out by a Big Ten team. Usually playing the worst teams in the Big Ten, but still rarely blown out, usually competitive against Big Ten teams. And again, tonight, Maryland leads 20-9. Northern Illinois had cashed in a field goal right before half. That's the last I saw of that game. And we see that it looks like Northern Illinois is going to have to punt the ball back to Maryland, who could put a big dent in this game. But the Terps, less than impressive tonight, lead 20-9 over the Huskies. Then we got Boise State, of course, coming off that hurting at South Florida, 38-6. They lead Eastern Washington 20-7. That game about halfway through the second quarter. Tack on a touchdown for the Broncos, and they should tack on the PAT as well to lead 27-7. We've got Kaden here. We've got Linda here. Stephen, good to see you. Doc P. And DeReal MVP. Says James Madison, Louisville is the most college football game that's happened this week, this season. The most college football game that's happened this season. Okay. Don't know what that means. All right. Appreciate you being here. Of course, the link is in the chat. We're going to run through the schedule on Saturday. Of course, I thought it's a good thing I checked because we've got droves and droves, thousands of people counting on my predictions. And I was in the process and unfortunately lost them all, but I was in the process of posting those to Patreon today. And I just checked and they were not posted. So I will get that done as soon as we are done here, which leads me to, before we take our first call, of course, we will be here. We guarantee an hour every night, except for nights like last night, NFL game, and I thought had some other things going on. We will not go on tonight. Not much going on in college football on Thursday night. Of course, nobody was playing, so we took the night off, but basically we are here Sunday through Saturday, every night of the week. And of course, the ladies of college football, they take over on Sunday. You got me Monday through Saturday after the ball game or at 10 p.m. Eastern time for at least 1 hour. I give you 1 hour for free. And then if you'd like for me to stick around, I'll stay around all night if you want me to. I will be here till kickoff at noon tomorrow. I will probably not take it past noon kickoff. So if you want a 14-hour show, I'm yours. We will talk college football for the next 14 hours. All right, that is up to you. Got our first call coming in. We've got our buddy Kaden stopping by. Kaden, how you doing?
Yeah, good evening, Mark. How are you, sir?
I'm sorry, I missed your first comment there, Kaden. I didn't have the volume up.
Yeah, I said good evening, Mark. How are you
Good
doing
evening.
this evening, good sir?
Nice to see you. You look comfortable.
Yeah, nice to see you as well. You're looking good as always.
Oh, well, thank you. I appreciate it.
This is the only time I'm going to say this message perfectly clear. Please subscribe to the Voice of College Football Network so you don't miss out on any good of Mark's very nice comments, debates, and, debacles of the world of college football, because crazy stuff has happened and crazier stuff is going to happen in this world of college football, so you don't want to miss out on the updates and news from your creative
Appreciate
host,
that.
this channel, Mark Rogers.
Appreciate that, Kaden. What's on your mind tonight?
I want to talk about tomorrow. I want to talk about Saturday's game, Cy-Hawk game. That's Iowa State, Iowa.
Okay.
Honestly, I gave my thoughts on that game, and I've got Iowa State winning that one. I've got Iowa State's running game, going to help win that game, and also Iowa State's defense. I feel like could really, really cause some problems against Iowa's offense. So that's just kind of my 2 cents on that. But also, I have Iowa winning that by a touchdown and a field goal for at least 2 points with that touchdown.
Okay. Iowa State. Correct?
I picked Iowa State to win that one.
Yes. Gotcha. Okay. It's a
And
reasonable
then, what was it else? I have Georgia winning the fall. I have them winning their SEC home games. So against Ole Miss, Texas, and Alabama, I have them winning by at least 2 touchdowns. I feel like Georgia's defense has really stepped up their A game since week 1, and they've shown like, hey, Gunnar Stockton is a good quarterback on offense, leading that offense, but also Georgia's defense stepping up. I feel like Georgia's defense is really, making a bigger impact than last year, in my opinion. But that's just, like I said, my 2 cents on the matter. As far as Ohio State goes, that's a no question brainer for me. Against Grambling State, we should win that by at least 4 touchdowns.
Well, considering Georgia's playing Austin Peay and, like you say, Ohio State's playing Grambling, I don't even think that there are lines on those games. They are
I looked and there's no lines on the Austin Peay game for Georgia at home, and neither for Grambling State against Ohio State. There's no money line on it.
Yeah, once it gets past what they think is going to be like 50 or 55 points, because I did notice there was a game, I think it was Texas Tech and Kent State's at 48.5. So they do reach it up there into the low 50s. But yeah, it's basically a week off for Georgia, Ohio State, and a few others.
Yeah, and I mean, if it's the games like like this is a no question game. It's just a one and done game. Ohio State's defense will come out against Grambling State, beat them, and you know what? Grambling State is going to leave with whatever check, and then just head out the building and just say they just took the biggest L at the hands of Ohio State. Austin, PA, the same thing with them with Georgia. They're going to take an L courtesy of Georgia. So, I mean, that's a no question brainer game for me either. Am I going to watch it? No. Am I going to watch OSU, Ohio State, Grambling State? No. Because I know that game is, like I said, a no-brainer game.
Okay. Why are we talking about no-brainer games?
I don't know. I get a lot of, people ask me all the time, like friends and family ask me about, these no-brainer games. And I'm like, I have to constantly remind them, these no-brainer games should not even be discussed about. Oh, my God, it's awful.
So you're telling other people not to discuss these games, but you call here and discuss them.
No, I'm just saying, like, if anyone has any friends that at least talks to them about, no-brainer games, my piece of advice is just tell them, stop it. Like, just stop it. Like, why do even people need to talk about, like, no-brainer games? Like, seriously.
Exactly. Well, Kaden, we appreciate you calling.
Yeah, and I'll see you Monday.
Sounds good, Kaden. Have a good night. All right. So we spent a few minutes there talking about games that are no-brainer games. That was the quote, but talking about how we should not be talking about them. All right. That was a productive call. Let's get to all the games on a Saturday. And again, we appreciate Justin's here and the godfather of the SEC. Would certainly love to hear from the godfather of the SEC sometime. That would be quite the call to take in. I'm sure much wisdom could be gathered from that. All right, we've got some Illinois football to talk about, of course, with the Illini traveling to ACC country, taking on Duke. We got Sunny Verma here. And Sunny, appreciate you being here. And I would probably be remiss if I attempted to run down all the platforms that you're involved with at this point. So we got Locked On Illinois. We got the Illini cast, and now we've got a new venture with On3, correct?
Yeah, so it's basically, first off, Mark, it's always a pleasure. Every time you ask me to come on, I can't wait for that opportunity. So thank you for asking me to jump on. But so basically I got Locked On Illini, which is every single day. I do about a half hour to 40 minutes of content every weekday. And just recently, I just announced last week that On3 has asked me to contribute for it's going to be a weekly, about 1 hour show dedicated to Illini sports. So I don't know how I keep falling forward when it comes to this content creating thing, but every time I get these opportunities, I'm just grateful for it. And a lot of it has to do with you. So I want the audience to know that, I really look up to you and all the ways you've helped me in the past.
I do appreciate that. And as you continue to fall forward, I'll have to be asking for your secret sauce at some point. So we've got a game coming up this weekend. I got to say, Sunny, that although it did not garner the kind of attention that the big 3 or 4 games did last weekend in week 1, the top 10 matchups, it's been on my radar for quite some time thinking, okay, this Illinois team is a dark horse playoff contender. And I don't even know if we could classify them a dark horse playoff contender when you're ranked 12th in the country in the preseason poll. And people are outwardly predicting Illinois to make the playoffs in many places. But a trip to Duke, I thought was going to be something that maybe I could take advantage of from a point spread situation. But I got to say, when I saw 2.5 to 3.5, I thought that's going to be difficult for me to make a call on. I thought I'd be able to take Duke in a touchdown or something there. But people are onto this game now because Illinois, again, has gotten some attention. And if people take a little deeper dive, they see that Duke's got a pretty good football team coming back that struggled with Elon for a half and then kicked it into gear. So a couple teams coming off easy week 1 wins. And again, a bit of an under the radar type big game for us this week.
It really is. It's a massive game for the Illini fan base and, dare I say, the Illini program. I feel like I'm kind of at the point where I'm at the edge here, right? I've been an Illini football fan for so long, and things look so incredibly promising under Brett Bielema and where he's gotten our program. You know, last year, obviously, you won 10 games, win the Citrus Bowl over South Carolina, a team that a lot of people considered, you know, a contender for the college football playoff. This year, you come in, over-under is about 8.5, 7.5, depending on which book you look. But as you said, the expectations are there. This game against Duke, you know, when the line came out, all I heard was a lot of, why is this a Vegas trap game? Or like, why is this line so short at 2.5, as you said? And I've noticed over the last couple of days, yeah, I think the old Illini football fan in me has returned in a bit, like, just because there's so much nervousness going into this game. Manny Diaz has done a fantastic job. Their quarterback, Mensah, looked like Duke may have looked okay last week, but Mensah looked absolutely fantastic. And, you know, he might be the best quarterback that Illinois faces on their schedule this year, a guy who could be a top 15 pick in the NFL next year. And usually every game coming in, Illinois has an advantage at the quarterback spot. This one, I'd argue, is at best case scenario even. So, you know, it's just one of those games where I think I talked to you about it before. Once I saw it on the schedule, this game and that Indiana game that we have in week 4, I really thought these two games can kind of dictate the momentum for Illinois football moving forward. Because I don't know if you saw, Illinois just sold out its 3rd game of the season. It was announced a couple days ago against USC. So they've sold out Ohio State, USC, and Western Michigan. There's a lot of energy in Champaign for this football team. Usually it's reserved for the basketball team. Right now, there's a lot of positive vibes for this football team. But, you know, you and I know Duke is a good football team. But the casual college football fan, when they think of Duke, they think of basketball. And so what I'm afraid of is a loss Saturday at 11 o'clock to Duke all of a sudden takes that high energy, and all of a sudden the fan base was like, I knew it, we're out.
Yeah, there's going to be a lot of Big Ten football fans that stay within the footprint and just pay attention to the Big Ten that are going to think this is a game Illinois has to win. They should win, especially if they're not into point spreads. They're going to think this is a walkover of sorts. And if it doesn't turn out Illinois' way, it's going to be disappointing to a lot of people that expected much more. But it could be a legitimate loss of sorts. I'm not saying that Illinois, this is in their plans, or that this is a good look for the conference or for themselves, and would not be damaging to their playoffs hopes, because they would be, because I do not expect Duke's going to rip off 10 or 11 wins. But it's a quality football team. And so let me take it the next layer of nuts and bolts analysis, and I'm sure that you're all over this. So everybody check out Sunny's work at Locked On Illinois in particular. Once you started to dissect this Duke football team and match it up against Illinois, where are you pinpointing possible vulnerabilities, or where you think this game is going to be won and lost?
You know, this is one of those where I would not be upset if Luke Altmaier threw 12 passes tomorrow. The way Elon ran all over Duke's defense, I really think I'm relatively comfortable saying that Illinois' 3 running backs are a tier above what Elon was throwing out there last week. And so when it comes to Kaden Fagan, Aiden Lawfrey, and Khalil Valentine, who I think might be kind of a pick to click tomorrow if you're one of those gamblers to score a touchdown, I just think that physically our offensive line can kind of bully Duke's a little bit. We know Duke is going to blitz. We know that because that's what Manny Diaz defenses do. And Luke Altmaier had arguably his worst game as a college football player 2 years ago against Penn State, against a Manny Diaz-led defense where he had 4 interceptions in that first half. I think there's a lot of pressure on Luke for that, you know, just to kind of make up for that sort of game. It's been a narrative in all the previews that I've watched between Duke and Illinois, but I just think that Illinois has those running backs that can punish Duke. And, you know, I gave praises to Mensah earlier. The best way to beat Mensah is to not give him the football. As long as you're rushing the ball, you're controlling that clock, and you're just physically beating them up, I think Illinois is setting themselves up, for a potential victory.
Yeah, 52-3 over Western Illinois, which is a pretty horrendous program at this point. But the one thing that I would say about what we've seen out of Illinois, at least in this week one final score, and I got to admit, I did not see one play from this game. It just didn't register, obviously. But I will be watching Illinois Duke start to finish on Saturday, is that just from a strictly a scoring standpoint, if you go through Illinois' box scores and recaps from the last 20 years, this would be a game that they would have won 31-13, something like that in the past, and not just obliterated like you see the top teams in the country just generally obliterating teams by 45 and 50 points every week that are on this level.
No, you're exactly right. And that's kind of why I'm saying like tomorrow's kind of like have we jumped to a different level yet? Or are we kind of the same old type of Illinois team? Brett Bielema has gotten us to a certain level, but I mean this humbly. I don't mean to disparage or disrespect any Duke fans, but it's like, this is the type of game that Illinois should win. Like, if this is the program that we all think that Illinois is turning into, then we want to look at that 3-point spread, and after the game tomorrow, be like, hey, that was really disrespectful towards the Illini. They are clearly the better team, at least in my opinion. And 3 points is not enough, and that's what's going to make me feel better. If a comfortable Illinois victory tomorrow makes me less worried about what's going to happen against Indiana 2 weeks later, it's going to, in a way, and I hate to say this because, of course, I think Brett Bielema has done a fantastic job, but I think in a lot of ways, beating Duke on Saturday is going to legitimize the respect that this football program is going to have from like real football people. It may not matter to the casual college football fan, but I've watched your show all week long, and you said, I've heard you say that before. You were looking to jump on the maybe +6.5, +7 points that line could have come out at, and it's because Duke is a pretty solid football team, and they're playing at Durham. That's not going to be an easy victory. And look, I'm a gambler, right? I've been gambling for 10, 15 plus years. When it comes to college football, I always look for the home dog. You give me +3, 4 points at home, that's usually the line that I'm slamming. I can't do that. I can't bet against my own Illini, but again, I understand that makes me a little bit, I guess you could say, nervous for Saturday's game.
Yeah, and actually, when you look at the landscape of games this week, and I off the top compared it to what we saw last week with just all those top 10 matchups, this is a opportunity here for Illinois to show those fans outside the footprint, outside the Big Ten, that this is a legit team, because there's going to be a lot more people watching this game, I would think, than it being matched up against some of the bigger matchups had it been in another week, because it's a nice little matchup. It's a nice little schedule of college football. If you really are in the weeds and enjoy Baylor and SMU and Illinois and Duke and those kind of matchups that are a second or third tier kind of that I really enjoy, Kansas, Missouri, those kind of games, but there are not the heavyweight matchups this week. So a lot of people are going to watch Illinois play. And for those people, Sunny, that know, and we've got, of course, hardcore college football fans in this chat, but I'm guessing a lot of them know Luke Altmaier.
Sure.
And that's it.
Fair.
Like, who are we going to find out about most likely on Saturday?
I mean, I feel like I have to at least say the name Gabe Yakis. He's
Sure.
an edge player on this team. He's going to be a top 15 player in the NFL last year or next offseason. He's a guy who could have gone to the NFL and be playing on Sundays this year. But Brett Bielema convinced him to come back for one more year. He terrorized Western Illinois. Again, I understand the competition level, but still 2.5 sacks. I think he's going to kind of be the key against Duke tomorrow as well, because as good as Duke's offensive line may be, they're not going to face many guys that have the talent level of a guy like Gabe Yakis. And so it's one of those where I think he should be a national name. He will be by the end of the season. He's going to come on the same lines as, Jazon Newton that we had a couple years ago, Keith Randolph Jr. Terrence Jameson, the defensive lineman coach for Illinois, is just very good at maximizing the talent that's on the defense. And I just think that, Gabe is for sure one name that you guys absolutely have to remember. But then outside that, it's hard. And this is why in my preseason predictions, like I was in Big Ten Media Days, right? And I was sitting next to Kings of the North, and a Nebraska channel was to my right. And a lot of them, all of them actually had Illinois at 10, 11, 12 wins. And for me, during my preview, I simply said that if a Big Ten team wins 11 games or even 10 games, to me, that tells me that you have superstar talent on that team, because your schedule is going to be very, very tough, and you're going up against a lot of blue chippers on the other side. I really like this Illinois football team. I think it's a very good football team. I don't think it's an elite team. So for me, the ceiling was always 9, maybe 10 wins if you get the lucky bounces that you got last year. And so that's why when you say, the folks in the chat and maybe the national media know who Luke Altmaier is and maybe little else, I don't take too big offense to that. I will, again, sit here and promote Gabe Yakis, because I think that's just he's a kid that everyone, if you're a college football fan, you need to, if you're watching the game tomorrow, just keep your eyes on him. He plays linebacker / edge every now and then. He's a superstar. I would say pure talent-wise, he's the best player on Illinois. But outside that, the incredible thing that Brett Bielema has done is the floor on this team has raised so drastically. You've got 3 running backs who I think could start for a majority of the country. As we mentioned, Kaden Fagan, Aiden Lawfrey, Khalil Valentine's a sophomore who is very shifty, and just a kid who I think is going to be a star in a year or two when he finally gets his opportunities. On defense, you have one of the best defensive back rooms in the entire country. I would argue top 10, maybe top 15. You have guys like Matthew Bailey, Xavier Scott. Again, not guys who are household names, but if you're a college football fan who also pays a lot of attention to the NFL draft, you'll notice next year that by the time the 3rd or 4th guy is going to be drafted, like, is that another Illinois kid? Did they say Illinois one more time? There could be 6 or 7 guys on this college football roster that are going to be announced in next year's NFL draft. And again, that just tells you how, that's what Brett Bielema's style is, what he needs to do at Illinois. He'll recruit 3 stars, but he'll maximize their potential to become good college football players. And that's kind of what he's doing. The problem is the hype doesn't necessarily come in with these guys as prospects. When you're at Ohio State, when you land a 5-star and you have those high expectations from the start, and the whole country knows, especially if we're following the whole recruiting process. With Illinois, they're recruiting a different type of kid. And so they build their brand names off of the play on the field. Thing is, not a lot of people are paying attention to Illinois on the field, except for maybe seeing the final score at the end.
Well, I've got to say, Sunny, when you ran down your expectations in terms of a final record, I got to give you a lot of credit for being measured, objective, and all of those things, because if you just take the average college football fan and you match them up against this preseason ranking and what Illinois accomplished last year, it's a fringe college football playoff contender in the minds of most people. Therefore, it means 10-2, you're in. 9-3, you're probably out. But if you've got a stacked schedule and you're impressive enough and don't get blown out, maybe we'll see a 9-3 team get in this year or at some point. And therefore, that's where most of those predictions have been coming in that 9-3, 10-2 range. I don't know what Vegas had. I can't imagine that they were that high.
It was. I mean, depends on the book. It was either 7.5 or 8.5.
Okay.
But see, it's one of those things, Mark, again, covering this team pretty much every day of the week. Last year, the team finished the regular season at 9-3, but it took a very fortunate decision by Greg Schiano to not take a timeout in that Rutgers game for Illinois to pull off that victory. There was a very late call in the Purdue game, which went in our favor. I think it was Luke fumbling the ball. They ruled it wasn't a fumble, and so we got to keep the ball. 9-3 sounds really nice, but that season was very, very close to being 7-5. And then all of a sudden, the feel. I mean, it still would have felt nice as an Illinois fan. 7-5, we'll take that. But all that the electric energy I was talking about earlier, 9-3, and then getting the opportunity to beat South Carolina in the bowl game, finishing with double-digit wins. Those high expectations, coming into the season at number 12, that would not have happened. And so that's why I'm trying to temper my enthusiasm. This is a better team than last year's. They don't have quite the 2 wide receiver superstars, but they're returning 17 of the 22 starters from last year's team. So it's the team last year, but 1 year older. And so I know they're good, but if you're telling me a Big Ten team wins 11 games or 12 games, then you're telling me that you have 5-star blue chippers everywhere, or, backed up by 4-star guys. And I'm being realistic in the sense where I know Illinois isn't that yet.
You're either that or you were given Indiana's schedule last year, which Illinois has not been.
No.
Last thing before I let you go, your assessment of the Big Ten. I know it was only 1 week of play. Of course, Ohio State posted the most important win, maybe not necessarily the most impressive, but anytime you beat the number 1 team in the country that's loaded with talent, regardless of what the score is, that was the most important win. And on the downside, UCLA got trucked. There were a number of teams that faced MAC schools that still won fairly comfortably, but didn't beat the spread. Rutgers got a scare. The Maryland quarterback, Malik Washington, had a great debut against FAU. And of course, we're going to find out more about the likes of Iowa in particular and Illinois on Saturday. And of course, Michigan has their big showdown at Oklahoma. So looking at the results of week 1 and then what you expect to see tomorrow in the Big Ten, are you starting to get a feel for who's going to be there at the end?
The game I'm going to be watching as much as I can is going to be that Michigan team, just because the way Bryce played in that first game, if they truly do have a star at quarterback, we know the talent's always going to be there. If they can put on a showing, look, I'm telling you, I was surprised about this Illinois line at 2.5. Oklahoma being 5.5 point favorites. I don't know if it's moved at this point, but at 1 point, 5.5 point favorites towards Michigan, I thought was very disrespectful. And so I think if Michigan can not just cover the spread, but if they can come out and, win tomorrow, all of a sudden they're going to legitimize themselves as right back up in the top tier of the Big Ten Conference. Whether they're ready for that yet or not, we know the brand name when it comes to Michigan, beating another brand name like Oklahoma. The talking heads will be talking about it. And so when you have Michigan, the brand, combined with what looks like a superstar freshman quarterback, I think that's the game to watch tomorrow, just to see if they can make that leap to the top of the conference.
Sunny Verma, it's Locked On Illini and a new gig with On3 as well. And the best way to track all of that is to follow Sunny at the Sunny V on X/Twitter. And again, the Illini cast as well. And if I missed anything with all of that, Sunny, certainly close us out with anything that you can provide for the folks out there.
Nope, that's basically it, Mark. If you're an Illini fan, every day I do a show, Locked On Illini. Find me on YouTube right here. The On3 one, it's going to be called Talk Illini. I haven't launched it yet. It's going to be sometime, hopefully in the next 7 to 10 days, but I'm really looking forward to that as well. Illini Cast, unfortunately, is not going to be around anymore just because I only have so much time on my hands. But I'm really excited about these 2 projects I'm working on. And again, I always appreciate when you asked to have me on, and hopefully I'll bring you on one of those shows sometime soon.
Great to see you, Sunny. Enjoy the game. It's a big one.
Thank you, Mark. Appreciate it.
All right. Good to talk some Illini football. It does my heart good when there are programs out there, and Illinois is the prime example of that right now, that have elevated and broken up the typical Ohio State, Michigan, Georgia, Alabama type deal that we get from year after year after year after year after year. And of course, we've got a few teams in play that could possibly elevate. And we'll look at the schedule to see who's got an opportunity and who may be on upset alert. So let's do that. You've got me for a few more minutes, or you've got me all night. Whatever you'd like, I am here. And so I will be here based on your needs. So here we go, looking at week 2 in college football. And we will start with All right, let's run it down. And the games that matter. Starting at noon, Penn State, yeah, very disappointed with Penn State not playing anyone outside the conference. Just they are a preseason national championship contender favorite in that top 3 or 4, and they're playing no one. Okay, they've got FIU. They're a 43 or 44 point favorite. Forget it. Big Ten Network, have fun with that one. San Jose State at Texas. Of course, Texas is about a 36 point favorite. People are going to keep their eye on one Arch Manning to see if he bounces back and plays much better. San Jose State lost on a last second field goal against one of the Michigans last weekend. I believe that was Central Michigan. So Ken Niumatalolo losing his first game of the season there, 2025 for the Spartans. Okay, we got Illinois and Duke, the game we've been talking about with Sunny Verma. Again, Illinois, a slight 2.5 to 3.5 point favorite at Duke. Should be a heck of a ball game. ESPN, noon Eastern time, and that is definitely going to be front and center with me, along with Iowa State. So, as I state all the time, we've got the capacity for 3 or 4 games to be on, but I can only reasonably keep track of 2. I can only watch 2, and that's why you typically get 2 noon Eastern time breakdown, instant analysis videos out of me, and 2 after the 3:30 games, and then 2 after the primetime games. So I'm going to be watching Illinois Duke front and center, along with Iowa and Iowa State. Big game for both of those teams as well. Actually, a bigger game for Iowa if you're looking at strictly playoff considerations, because Iowa's not going to win the Big Ten. So the record means a lot for Iowa. Iowa State, of course, in the running for the Big 12 championship. So this does not count toward that for Iowa State. Rocco Becht, Mark Gronowski looked pretty poor in completing only 8 of 15, 44 yards passing for Iowa last week. So Iowa will need some semblance of a passing game, you would think, against an Iowa State offense with Rocco Becht and company. It's a nice little affair there with Fox and the Big Noon Show in Ames. Baylor and SMU, of course, the Bears could get off to an 0-2 start despite having a pretty good football team. Sawyer Robertson ripped up the Auburn defense, but Baylor could not keep up in losing 38-24 to the Auburn Tigers at home. Now they take it to the road, but not that far down the street to Dallas-Fort Worth and SMU. So Baylor at SMU, SMU a slim favorite. So that's going to be my number 3 game on the radar. So if one of those other 2 games, which I do not anticipate turning into a blowout, but if one of the other 2 do fall off the rails there in the second half, then my next options, Baylor, SMU. I actually would like to see all 3 of those games. And that basically does it for noon, although we've got an ACC opener with Virginia, who was mighty impressive against Coastal Carolina. And lo and behold, you'd be surprised by this. I actually watched like the extended highlights of Virginia and Coastal Carolina just today. And then we've got NC State coming off a narrow win against East Carolina. So the ACC opener in Raleigh with NC State hosting Virginia. Syracuse and UConn could be a decent game to keep an eye on. Utah State and Texas A&M on the SEC network. Move it to 3:30. And we basically just have nothing. Almost nothing. Can we find a game? Yes, we could find maybe 1 game. No, make it 2. We got 1 down there. All right. Again, Ohio State and Georgia in scrimmages. Oregon, Oklahoma State. I do expect the Ducks to roll, as does Vegas. Clemson and Troy. Clemson's about a 30-point favorite in that game. Okay, we know what happened to Ole Miss at home against Kentucky last year. Ole Miss, we talk about South Carolina, we talk about Alabama in particular, missing the playoffs last year and possibly getting snubbed or earning a selection based on playing a tougher schedule than the likes of SMU and Indiana. Really, it was Ole Miss that was closer than anyone that missed the playoffs last year to making the playoffs. They lost 3 games by 1 play. They simply lost 3 games by 1 play, and this was one of them. They gave up a big 4th and 4 completion, like a 75-yard touchdown to Kentucky with just 2 or 3 minutes left in the game. And then came back and kicked what would have been the game-tying field goal, and they missed it. So they lost by the narrowest of margins to Kentucky, a 4-8 football team last year. So Ole Miss about a 10-point favorite going to Lexington to take on Zach Calzada and the Cats. Kansas, Missouri, I find this an intriguing matchup. Jayhawks just about a 6.5-point underdog at Mizzou. Bo Prabula looked impressive in his debut. And so there at 3:30, I'll be locked in on Ole Miss and Kentucky and Kansas and Missouri. Also, don't be surprised if Miami gives Rutgers a game. On the CW, you've got Fresno State and Oregon State. Of course, the CW is the home of the Pac-2, Oregon State and Washington State. It's a fun little network out there. As we move on to the primetime games, because I see nothing else here at 3:30 of interest. Look out, Rich Rodriguez going to Athens, Ohio as just a 3-point favorite. Ohio took Rutgers to the wire last week, 34-31. Ohio a couple years ago welcomed an Iowa State team under Matt Campbell and upset them at home. West Virginia at Ohio on ESPNU. If you're looking for an under the radar, what could be a decent game, there it is. Then we also have South Florida, who's going to gain a lot of attention this week coming off the blasting of Boise State, going to Florida. DJ Lagway didn't put up big numbers in his first game against Long Island, but the Gators welcome to the 2025 college football season against South Florida. The Gators are a 17.5-point favorite in that one. You see elsewhere in the SEC, Arkansas State. Now we move into the primetime window. Miami, of course, like a lot of the elites. Let me back off. Miami is not an elite, but you know what I mean. The big brands that kind of get the week off after their huge win against Notre Dame, the biggest win in Miami football. It may prove to be the biggest win in 20 plus years. Now we'll see how the rest of the season plays out. As it stands right now, it's the biggest win since 2017. So they've got the week off against Bethune-Cookman. Army at Kansas State. That's an ESPN game at 7 o'clock. And probably I am going to call it already that this would be the worst ESPN primetime game this season. Army at Kansas State is ESPN primetime, which is usually reserved for a second or third best SEC game of the week. Of course, the game we all want to see on Saturday night is Michigan at Oklahoma. Meanwhile, on ESPN2, it's Arizona State and Mississippi State. Why that game's not on ESPN instead of Army and Kansas State, I cannot really answer that question. But again, Michigan, Oklahoma, if I could only watch one game on Saturday, that might be the one. And again, let's not discount, and this could be a bad look for the Big 12. If Arizona State is just a 6.5-point favorite, goes to Mississippi State and stumbles against what most people expect to be the worst team in the league. But for a Big 12 team that is coming off 11 wins, the conference championship, and a fine performance in the playoffs, taking on Mississippi State, who was 0-8 in the SEC, to just be a 6.5-point favorite, that tells us a lot. Vanderbilt at Virginia Tech, that's almost a pick'em game. So squarely, maybe Boston College and Michigan State might be my selection. I do think I'm going to go Michigan, Oklahoma, and Arizona State, Mississippi State to be my two games in the primetime window. But I will be keeping a close third eye on Boston College and Michigan State. If you remember that game from a year ago, Michigan State lost in the final few seconds of the game. They were down by 4. Aiden Childs threw an interception in the end zone. UCLA just a 2.5-point favorite at UNLV. And late night on ESPN, Stanford at a BYU. That spreads about 3 touchdowns. And Stanford has already lost to Hawaii, and Stanford's record by the end of this season could be atrocious. Kai's here, Luke's here, Cabone's here, Jim's here. Good to see all of you. Christopher Foot's here as well. We have left the link in the description section of the video and also there in the chat. Porter's here. It's not a great schedule if you're looking for marquee games, but hey, I'll watch even beyond these games. Like, I'll watch Stanford and BYU. No, I'm going to be sitting here, so I will not watch Stanford and BYU, but it would not pain me to watch Stanford and BYU or UCLA and UNLV. But those games aside, those are not games I'm looking to watch. But I want to watch Boston College and Michigan State. I want to watch Michigan, Oklahoma, and Arizona State, Mississippi State. That's 3 games I'd like to see on Saturday. I would like to watch. Actually, I wouldn't mind watching this West Virginia, Ohio University game. And I would like to watch Kansas, Missouri. Might be the best game of the day. Ole Miss and Kentucky, I'd like to see. This would be one of the years that I would not care to see Oregon, Oklahoma State. Most seasons, if you threw up this schedule, that would be one of the top games of the day. I would watch Virginia, North Carolina State. I would watch SMU and Baylor. Iowa, Iowa State probably is the game that I would watch over anything except Oklahoma and Michigan. And then again, Illinois and Duke. I got 10 games I'd like to see. I'd like 10 games there on the schedule. All right, folks. We've got a call coming in, and we've got 2 minutes. Nope, he just dropped off. So we are good to go. We have reached the bewitching hour of 11 p.m. Eastern Time. Do appreciate all of you being here at the Voice of College Football. We'll be here for post-game reaction and your calls on Saturday night. Thanks for being here at the Voice of College Football. Catch you on Saturday. Enjoy the football. College football is even more exciting when you've got some action on the line, and the games are even better when you're cashing in. And the Voice of College Football is the place to be to get the greatest value. Start with my picks. 75% against the money line, 58% against the spread, and I've got a 40-plus year track record. 11-0 in the college football playoff for me last year against the money line, 8-3 against the spread. And I'm just the warm-up act. Steve Merrill of Wager Talk is our ace in the hole show stopper. 7 years with the Voice of College Football, over 30 years in the industry. Steve gives us analysis on all the big games, but you can't miss Steve's weekly under-the-radar pick. 28-12 against the spread the last 3 years. You also get picks from some of our top analysts here at the Voice of College Football, including Corey Bratta, Matt Zemek, and Steve Dace. Check out those numbers. Become a YouTube or Patreon member for just $99 per month. Go to the main channel on YouTube, click join, and then select the betting tier. Do the same thing on Patreon. Make 2025 a winner now.